Well, welcome back to GIS Analysis at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. From the last session, we created measured lines, and we had two measured lines. We had Caribou Lane and we had Moose Lane, and our measured lines are in steps. In this session, what we're going to do is create points along these measured lines or off these measured lines using the measure of steps. So the first step is we're going to create a table called a point event table, which will contain the information we need to generate our points along each measured line. So if you right mouse click on a folder or your geodatabase and then new table, and let's call this table point events, and then next, and then next, and then let's create some fields. So the first field will be road name, and that will be a text field, and that will be up to 16 characters wide. So down at the bottom, length 16. And then the next field will be location in steps, and that will be an integer field, so short integer. And then the next location will be distance off road. And that will be the distance of our point event either to the left of the road or to the right of the road. And let's make that a double precision. And then finish. The next step is we're going to edit this table to enter information. So if you right mouse click, edit, start editing, and then we'll open our table. So the first thing we'll do is the road name will be Moose Lane. And then next one, the road lane will be Moose Lane. And then the next one will be Caribou Lane. And then let's save that work. And then we'll enter our next field, location in steps. Let's say at location 100, at location 150, and at location 100 for Caribou Lane. And then distance off-road, let's say the first one is negative 30, and the next one is positive 30, and the next one is 0. And then we'll save our work. So let's open our polyline M table. So it's measured in, it's got names and it's got length. We don't really need to see length, so we'll make that invisible. So it's a measured, and it's called Caribou and Moose Lane. And then let's at the same time look at our point event table. So to look at them at the same time, table options, arrange them horizontally. And then we could stretch this out. So we're going to use a tool to link this table to our measured lines. And what we're going to do is use the road name and the name, so then the tool will know what road we're talking about. And then we'll use locations in steps to tell the tool where this location is in terms of our measure and steps along each line. And then the last field will tell it how far off that line to locate this point event. And let's add one more to our point event table, one more field to describe what is happening at each location. So we'll add a field, and it'll be text, and let's make it up to 16 characters. And let's say we observe bird species at each location. So we could just put the name is bird species. So at our first location, we see a boreal owl, so we'll select that row and calculate bird species equals boreal owl. At our next location, we see a great gray owl. And at our last location, Caribou Lane, go down 100 steps, and then right on that lane, we see a hawk owl sitting in a telephone pole. So then we can clear our selection. So the tool we're going to use is in this tool set, linear referencing. So these are all the tools that we can use for measured lines. It's going to be make route event layer. So our input is our measured line. We only have one choice. And then the table is our points event table. We only have one choice. And then what we have to do is link these two together. So we're going to link road name to name. So the route identifier for our measured line is name. In our table, it's this thing called road name. And then it knows it's a point event, but it doesn't know what field is representing the measures along each line. So in that case, the measures along each line is this field, location in steps. And then the last thing is we can name our layer, points layer, and then the offset field. So if we click on offset field, help says that's the field that contains values to offset events from the route. That is going to be the distance off-road. And then we as a user can describe if it's positive, does that mean to the right? Or if it's positive, does that mean to the left? So in this example, let's say if the value is positive, it means it's to the right on the road. And then OK will generate those points as a virtual point layer. So we have our virtual point layer. So let's symbolize by attribute. So if we go to properties and then symbology and then categories. So we'll symbolize by bird species. So add all the different values to the bird species, and then we could give them different symbols. So that would be our hawk owl, our boreal owl, and our great gray owl. So here's our great gray owl, and if we look at the table, our great gray owl is this location, and it's a distance of 30 off the road. So if we use the measure tool, if we defined our data frame, we need to tell it what these units represent. As far as ArcMap is concerned, they're just XY coordinates. So let's say our map units are in meters, just as an example. So then we could use the measure tool so the distance is 30 meters off the road. And it's at a location of 150. So we go down the road, here's 100, 120, 140, 160. So right here at 150, and then go to the right 30 meters, and that's where the great gray owl is located. As our final step, we might want to save this. Right now it's a virtual layer. We might want to save it to our geodatabase. So if we want to save this virtual point layer, we'd use the copy features tool. So take this virtual point layer and we'll output it to our geodatabase and we'll call it points in steps, as the measures were in steps. And then just OK, and then that will save it.